To the top, here I go, think I'm chosen to be the king of rock, think the people have spoken. I can hear the tick-tock of the clock, I'm in motion. So now I'm gonna pop, causing all this commotion.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric Hopkins. This is my good buddy Brandon, and we are here tonight to do a review for AEW Dynamite for July 14th, 2021. But before we get into that, if this is the first time you're finding us here on this channel, or if you're finding us again and you haven't yet done so, please hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. Well, it's Thursday when this video goes up, so you know what that means. It's time for yet another Dynamite review here. This is Fyter Fest Night 1. The show opened up with the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship being defended here on Dynamite. Jon Moxley defending his belt with Eddie Kingston at ringside against Carl Anderson with Doc Gallows at ringside. The crowd was out of their minds for Jon Moxley when he came out to Wild Thing. This was the first time I've heard this song in front of a full crowd outside of maybe whatever they did at Daly's place with some crowds, but this crowd seemed absolutely on fire to start this show, and I thought this was a very good opener with some really cool intensity. So yeah, I thought this was a great way to start the show. Got the crowd into it early. I also felt I know me and Brandon talked a little bit about this in regards to an announcement of a match that's going to be coming up later. I thought this show, we've been kind of criticizing AEW a little bit here lately, especially when it comes to their outside interference and distractions, and just seems like the entire locker room clearing on every single match. I thought this show did a good job of holding that to a minimum for this show. What do you think about that, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, there was still some, like I said before, it's not that, like, I get it when it's warranted. But sometimes it's like, it's overdone, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah. I totally agree.
You could get to where you're going without doing what you're doing.
Right. And I thought this show did a good job of not doing that. There was, like let's say, for example, this opening match here with Moxley versus Carl Anderson. Eddie Kingston immediately attacks Doc Gallows on the outside of the ring, hits him with the metal pipe. But the match hadn't even started, and they brawled throughout the crowd, and they left. Good. They didn't come back out. The match went one-on-one the whole way, and I thought they did a good job of keeping that at a distance from the main matchup here. So I thought that was great. They basically, let's see, the match was great top to bottom, really. Anderson, except there was one spot though. Carl Anderson hit like this pile driver. He was trying to lift up Moxley and looked like he had a hard time holding him up, and it looked like he literally dropped Moxley on his head. I really cringed right there. I thought Moxley could have been seriously hurt, but it seemed like he was okay. So hope all things good there for sure. Anderson landed a diving neckbreaker for a near fall. He fought out of a paradigm shift and shrugged off a discus forearm to hit a gun stun, but was too beaten down to make a cover. Moxley fired up and hit corner clotheslines, but Carl Anderson caught him with a fireman's carry. It turned it into a gun stun for a good near fall. Moxley countered a top rope gun stun with a ripcord lariat, then hit the paradigm shift to retain the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship here. Good match, like I said, good way to start and to bring Moxley back from his hiatus of having a child with his wife Renee. So definitely a good way to start the show here. Any other thoughts?
No, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I like both of these guys, especially Machine Gun. Like, we didn't get to see much, but I've watched some of his stuff from New Japan, so it's really great.
And I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time I've really seen him maybe since WWE, if he did it much there, where he actually competed in a singles match. Yeah, I'm not a big New Japan guy, so
twice.
Okay.
Maybe once or twice in WWE.
He's probably done it more in New Japan, but I just don't seem to get the time to watch New Japan on top of all the other wrestling we try to watch. But I'm sure this is nothing new for him, so it was just really cool to see and something fresh to see on Dynamite this week. Absolutely. After this match, we had Lance Archer and Jake Roberts, who were having an argument backstage. Archer changed his focus to Jon Moxley, who just retained his IWGP US title. He said it was time for his rematch. Apparently, they had wrestled, I believe it was New Japan that I suppose, and he challenged Moxley to another Texas death match, which they had wrestled for before, and that match apparently is going to happen next week. So I don't know. I'm assuming it just means basically no rules. Is that what a Texas death match is? I'm assuming
yeah.
They'll let us know before the match starts, I'm sure, next week. But yeah, it should be a good match. I don't know if necessarily I see Lance Archer winning the belt.
I don't think so. I think he'll keep it. because like I think New Japan has got a lot of stock in Moxley. So.
Right, and understandably so. What I do think could happen possibly, though, this backstage segment here started out with Archer arguing with Jake Roberts. What if Jake Roberts inadvertently tries to help out Archer next week and cost Archer the match? That could be a thing.
Yeah, but so I had this conversation with Josh. I don't know, about probably like a week ago or so when we were talking about this.
Co-worker friend of ours. Yeah.
What was the point of putting him with him? Like, he hasn't done much for him.
Yeah, especially a guy who
also the type of guy who doesn't need somebody to speak for him.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe early on for Dynamite, it was mostly to maybe introduce the audience, the U.S. audience to Lance Archer. Obviously, didn't he have time and Impact, I think, I believe?
He was an Impact for a while.
Okay, so maybe outside of that, I mean, I didn't know who Lance Archer was. I'll just openly admit it. But I'm sure a lot of people, maybe New Japan or wherever else, other independents and things like that, he's wrestled, probably knew who he was. But I think it was just a way to, when Dynamite started, to put him with Jake to kind of give him some name value recognition. But now, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. There's really no sense in keeping him with Jake Roberts anymore. Jake Roberts would serve better putting him with the guy who needs
at the same time too. Like he had no real value in the beginning or at all because like he didn't do anything. Like Lance was. They pushed him hard for like the first couple weeks, and then he kind of just went to the wayside. I understand he did stuff on Dark, and then Miro comes along, and then that whole thing.
We had that whole feud with Cody.
I just didn't understand that fucking thing. Mm-hmm. The whole thing with Miro and Archer, because it was like you were on the track here to push Archer to be that next big monster too. I mean, you could have done that parallel with Miro, and
they eventually did with Miro, but
but
no. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, Archer, it seems like he's gotten some good opportunities against Cody for the TNT title. He got beat by Cody. I get what they're doing with Cody, but at the same time, he's gotten criticism.
That's getting to be kind of weird, too.
Yeah, which is kind of like, which he even kind of halfway referenced it in a segment coming up here, but we'll get to that. Lance Archer just seems like a guy who is destined for more. He just hasn't got there yet. Maybe they have their reasons for not pulling the trigger. I don't know what those reasons are yet, but it could be just one of those situations where, like we've talked about before, how their roster is so big right now. They have these other priorities before Lance Archer at the moment, but hopefully he'll have a good match with Moxley. But like we've said, again, if he's probably going to lose to Moxley, so kind of is the question. What are you doing with him? Absolutely. We'll just have to see what they do. After this, we had Andrade El Idolo. He was interviewed by Alex Abrahantes. Andrade has permission to win championships everywhere. Andrade interrupted Abrahantes and asked where the Death Triangle was. He wants Abrahantes to tell them that El Idolo is looking for them. So this is to your point the other night when we were doing our NXT review, talking about how some foreign wrestlers who can't speak English very well, it's good to put subtitles with them, and that's exactly what AEW did here. And it was interesting because this looked like a live promo. I'm sure it was taped beforehand, but they filmed it in such a way it looked like he was backstage right at that moment, and they put the subtitles with him. So I thought it was a nice little touch. It definitely keeps him to where he doesn't have to always speak English perfectly. So good job on that part, I thought. Taz then joined the commentary for the next matchup. It was the FTW Championship. Ricky Starks against the defending champion Brian Cage.
This one,
okay.
All right, never mind. I'll go ahead. Go ahead, and I'll save my piece afterwards.
All right. Let's see here. Cage countered a swinging DDT with a thrust kick for a 2 count. He went for the outside in suplex, but Starks countered it and hit a sit-out powerbomb for a good near fall. Starks was about to use the FTW belt, but Powerhouse Hobbs stopped him from doing so. Cage took advantage of the distraction and hit an F5 for a great near fall. Hook then distracted the referee, and Hobbs hit Cage with the belt, and Starks hit a spear to win the FTW Championship as Taz celebrated with Starks, Hobbs, and Hook after the match. So what was it you wanted to say about it?
So, like, this match was one of those that was, like, you saw it coming from a mile away. We knew how this was going to end up because it made sense for it to end up this way.
Yeah, storyline-wise, I agree.
Also, one of those, it was like, you could have got there without doing what you did.
Yeah, I the only reason I'm going to give this one because we have talked about the outside interferences. This is one instance where they did do it on this show, which I believe is the only one on the show, but we'll find out here. But the reason why I think this one actually works is because, as you said, it's kind of something we can kind of see coming. But because of the fact they've been telling the story about how Brian Cage has not wanted the help. And every time they've tried to give him the help with the belt, he's thwarted it off and said, no, I don't need your help. So this time he gets beat by the exact same thing that he didn't want help with Hobbs hitting him with the belt. And of course Taz set this all up to get the belt back with him and his group. And apparently this is to me Brian Cage has been kicked out of Team Taz now. So, and I think that works. But yeah, to your point, yes, it is a distraction finish, things like that. But this is one instance I think it does work out well with the story they were telling. But yeah, absolutely, I understand what you're saying though. So it, it's just kind of, I think it's kind of in this case, maybe a little bit of, to each their own. I personally didn't have a problem with this one. Did you have a problem with it, or just kind of
No, it was just one of those like, all right. Like, I saw it coming. I knew it was going to happen.
Right.
Because it was the only logical way for it to go. Like, the moment Ricky Starks went for the belt and Hobbs took it away from him, I immediately was like, well, now Hobbs is going to hit him with that belt.
Right.
Like, there's no other way around it. Because he gave you that, no, we're doing, because I'm like, why? If you're willing to cheat for Brian before, like, what's stopping you now? So, yeah. I knew, like, so once he took the belt away from Ricky, and I seen, what's his name? Taz's son.
Oh, Hook. I don't know what his real name. I don't know if that's his real name or not. But
when he jumped up on the apron, I was like, well, okay, all right, I see where this is going.
At least they did a good job of distracting the official, giving him a reason not to see this. So I had no problem with that part of it. Do you think this is a feud that'll continue with Brian Cage, or do you kind of think this is over?
I don't think it should. It will.
Yeah, I would think Cage will at least want to get some semblance of revenge.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, too. I thought about this while this was going on. The FTW Championship itself. The only problem I have with it is it's not a belt that's... I mean, it's defended occasionally, which, again, I got no problem with them defending a belt not every single week, obviously. That's fine. But to me, it almost feels like a title that really doesn't mean a whole lot.
Well, yeah.
Is it just me? I mean, part of me, I mean, they just...
Because it only means something to them.
Yeah, because it's Taz. Yeah, it's Taz's belt. So, I mean, it's cool. And nothing against it. I think Ricky Starks will be a good carrier of that belt. He's got, obviously, a very talented, young, up-and-coming star. So I got no problem putting a belt on him, but it just makes the most sense to me just because they tried to break Brian Cage away from this group. And I think that'll be fine for him moving forward for sure. But we'll see where they take that. After this, we had the previously mentioned segment with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes walked out to commentary as the announcers recapped Malachi Black's debut last week. He said, Black could have just called because we don't kick a 62-year-old man in the face to get our point across. He then grabbed a microphone and walked to the ring because apparently the commentator announcing headset wasn't doing good enough for him. He doesn't win every fight, he said, but he has a chance because he knows it's coming. The line there where he said he doesn't win every fight, that was interesting to me because it's like there has been times where it seems like every feud you're in, you got to win there, buddy. But yeah, interesting that he said that.
And then he also made the mention of, I may be abusing my power here.
Yeah.
Then he called him out, and I was like, hey, man, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, very meta, kind of, played to the fans' criticisms there a little bit. And I'm going to hold to this, and I'm going to hold his feet to the fire here. If he beats Malachi Black, whenever this match takes place, I'm going to be pretty pissed off because it's like, come on, man. I mean, now I don't think that's going to actually happen. I think Cody's smarter than that. But we'll see what happens. He called out Malachi. My bad. I got to get used to that. Black showed up on the big screen, pointing out the fans cheered loudly when he attacked Cody and Arn. He told a story about a man killing a horse because it was crippled. Black said he looked Cody and Arn in the eyes last week. It just wasn't there. Cody fired up and demanded Black come down and fight. That's when the lights went out and Black showed up in the ring face to face with Cody. They brawled all over with officials and agents coming out to break it up. Loud let them fights chants rang out through the arena. I thought this was great. I thought the confrontation they had, clearly we're going to get this match. It was short, sweet. It was to the point, and they went right to commercial, and they moved on. So they didn't draw it out. They didn't waste a whole lot of time, and I thought it really built some anticipation for this. So it's going to be a good match whenever they do it. I'm assuming they would give this the proper build. I would hope they don't do this like at Fight for the Fall. Well, I mean, you could do it at Fight for the Fall in a couple of weeks. But...
aside from a talent like Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Tommy End, Malachi, but whatever the hell you want to call him, is like one of the biggest acquisitions you could possibly pick up.
Possibly a needle mover. for sure. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Did you hear the rumor today or whatever it was that's going around that Daniel Bryan may possibly be coming to AEW now? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, that's just a rumor at this point.
It's
but
rumor and conjecture. I mean,
right. Until anything is signed.
They said the same thing about Buddy Murphy, too.
Yeah. Now, he posted something earlier on one of his social media accounts, said 8/31/2021. That could just be when he's able to compete again. I don't know. Or that could have some sort of significance that he's going to debut somewhere at that point. But we'll have to wait and see when it comes to Buddy Murphy. But, yeah, absolutely. With Malachi Black, this is one of the few guys you could go out and get. And the rumor has it AEW has some sort of surprise coming up in the next few weeks that is going to make Malachi Black even look like a small deal. So, again, it's all conjecture, like you said, at this point. We don't know. Until something happens, we'll have to wait and see. But it's interesting to think about.
They do get Daniel Bryan. That's huge.
Yeah, that'll be a big deal.
100%. That's huge.
Or if they won't do this, but if they were ever to get CM Punk. But I don't think that's going to happen. But Daniel Bryan is more likely.
Like I said before, like the whole thing with Punk is like this.
It's been 7 years.
He'd have done it.
Right, you would think, yeah. I mean, not saying that if they did get him, it would be a needle mover, but
yeah, but at the same time,
how much relevance?
That's just more of the initial pop.
Yeah.
Look, CM Punk's not going to be where he was 7 years ago.
No,
that's not
probably not even on the mic because he'd be so. I mean, maybe he'd probably be okay on the mic, but at the same time, he wouldn't be as on fire as he was because he's out of practice. Let's be honest.
So,
but yeah,
I don't think that's it. Could it be Daniel Bryan? Yeah,
he's about the only other big name out there that would be a needle mover outside of like a Brock Lesnar, which I don't think they're going to pull that trigger. And they better not pull
Lesnar or a fucking Roman Reigns.
They better not pull a Braun Strowman. I do not personally want to see him at AEW. I just don't think he fits, but that's just me personally.
Like I said, Braun would make a killing in New Japan.
Yeah, absolutely he could. Yeah, or an Impact. I think he'd be good at Impact. I just don't think that AEW fits his mold. They've got some big guys here that they're still trying to figure out what to do with in general. They don't need another guy like that. But a guy like Bryan Danielson, which is what I'm assuming he would go by now if he were to come to AEW, that could be a big deal because he could have some stellar matches. Even though it's kind of late in his career, he'd have to stay healthy and all that stuff for sure too. But we'll have to see what they do. But I like this segment with Malachi and Cody, and I'm anticipating the match they're going to have moving forward. After this, we had Tully Blanchard backstage. He was asked about his cheap shot on Conan, and he ran into Santana and Ortiz, who threatened to attack him with a blackjack, but ended up
that was a crowbar.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. This article wrote blackjack, but yeah, it was a crowbar. Yeah, you're right. I don't know the difference, to be honest, but
like a blackjack is like it's like a piece of steel or metal that's like flattened on one end of it. Like
okay. This one was curved on one end, I believe. So, yeah, I think it was clearly a crowbar.
Was a fucking crowbar.
But anyway, they threatened to hit him with it, but they just mocked him and, threw him.
Told him it was fake.
Yeah, basically. And obviously, we're eventually going to get the FTR versus Santana Ortiz, most likely for the number one contendership to probably the Young Bucks tag titles. But we'll find out here in the next segment that whether or not that could be a thing or not. We'll have to wait and see. Next up, Hangman Adam Page was introduced by Tony Schiavone in the ring. For once, Tony Schiavone wasn't ran away, immediately as soon as when the guy came out to interview. He said Schiavone said that Omega versus Hangman Page was what the fans wanted to see. Adam Hangman Page has always wanted to be the AEW World Champion, and he came close, but he failed. The Dark Order was right. He still needs that championship. He was about to challenge Omega, but Don Callis interrupted. I ain't gonna lie, when Don Callis interrupted, I kind of got a smile on my face, like, here comes this guy. But and he's good at what he does. Don't get me wrong. He's being that total douche.
It's like I'm trying to put this in words that like don't make me sound like I'm shitting on the whole thing. No, I'm not.
Callis ain't just doing it for you.
No, man, and like not just him. This whole
just the elite
fucking
stuff
thing, and I'm just like, what are we doing?
Like, like I mentioned last week, I kind of called this a little bit. I didn't know if they were going to go these exact stipulations. But the team, so we'll see what they do. But I want to get into your point here in a minute once we get done with this because I want to talk about it a little bit. We'll get into that in a second. Don Callis and the rest of the elite walked out. He said Adam Hangman Page was just doing a lot of talking. They said Page is not the guy. Matt Jackson entered the ring asking if Page remembered them, his best friends that he abandoned. I did like that callback to that old storyline, so that was cool there. Page is a sad, lonely drunk who has nobody to blame but himself, Matt Jackson said. Matt then said Page was going to be the next wrestling tragedy. Let's hope not. Page said, struck Matt, leading to the Elite to attack. Omega appeared and was about to hit Page with the championship, but the Dark Order ran out and stopped him. Page said he's not leaving without a match. Omega agreed, but upped the ante. A 5-on-5 elimination match between the Dark Order and the Elite. Page said that when he wins, he wants a world title shot, and he wants the Dark Order to get a tag title shot against the Bucks. Super loud cowboy shit chants rang out. Omega entered the ring alone and said he'd entertain Page's idea, but if Page and the Dark Order lose, he can't challenge Omega. Omega asked if Page was afraid to fail in front of his fans. He's going to take an extra measure of pleasure when cowboy shit turns into belt collector. I thought that was kind of a cheesy line, personally, but if Page is cool with that, so is he. There was also a stipulation thrown in here that if Page and the Dark Order lose, the Dark Order cannot challenge for the tag titles either, I believe is what he said. This report doesn't say that. But Page said the Dark Order doesn't back down from a fight, and he says, you're on. So, yeah, you said that you felt kind of like you weren't necessarily looking forward to probably the finish of this match coming up. Well, you want to explain exactly why?
Because, look, I know anybody with half the brain knows what's about to happen here. Of course, Page isn't going to lose.
You don't think so?
So that means no. They've been telling this story since the inception of AEW, since this whole thing started. When he entered into the buy-in battle royal, and he won. Since he challenged for that title against Chris Jericho. And we've watched what happened from the time that happened to the whole him tagging with Kenny. You see the whole downfall and all that shit. Now he's with the Dark Order. It's that whole rebuilding period. This is his redemption. This is where you get your payoff.
Right.
It's all leading up to this. There's no way that he's going to go into this match. They're going to have him lose because then that destroys everything they've done.
You're talking about Page, right?
Yes.
Okay, you said You said Kitty wasn't going to lose.
Oh no!
Okay, you meant Adam. Okay, yeah. I'm on your same page now. Okay, you're good.
So it's like, okay, so that means Kenny has to eat a pin, like that.
Yeah,
that has to happen.
That's a good point, because when we discussed this in our offline chat, you said for that reason, and a lot of times we get the convoluted, all the interference, all that stuff with the Elite, especially. Yeah,
every time. I promise you, the guys who have been eliminated,
it's possible,
will make their presence felt at some point in time towards the end of this fucking match.
Right.
And you'll get this whole big interference spot fest thing, and then he'll hit the buckshot layer.
Yeah, it'll be a big pop and a big moment. But to your credit, though, that is like, again, too overbooked that way. Absolutely, I agree with you.
Because it's I wouldn't care. Honestly, would not care if it didn't happen in damn near every Bucks or Elite match. I wouldn't care. Right.
They are the ones that happens the most with.
And it's like, I'm over it.
And you're probably not wrong. I absolutely agree with you. I do believe that Hangman Page will earn his world title shot with this match. The Dark Order probably get their tag title match, sure, but they'll lose to the Bucks, no doubt. Yeah, and the Bucks will probably place the winner of Santana Ortiz and FTR, probably Santana Ortiz. That's just my prediction. But you made a good point that but I think they kind of got this thing with Christian we'll get into a little bit later. Eventually, maybe so. But I think the Santana Ortiz are building never having a shot at the tag title, so that's probably going to be where they go. In regards to this match, though, you made a good point that I didn't really even think about. I was so concerned with the idea that, Page is going to probably end up being at a disadvantage at some point in this match since it's elimination style. Maybe he'll have to beat 2 or 3 guys, maybe 4, on his own to earn this shot, which will make him look out to be one of the bigger stars and things like that. That'll be a good booking from that standpoint.
I'm sorry, but if you do it that way, you're kind of kicking the Dark Order in the ass here.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of viewed as, which is why Kenny wanted to do the match, because he feels like Dark Order are like lesser, obviously. Which
I hate that because again, when Evil Uno and
Brody,
when Silver when they debuted that night, they laid out.
And maybe they'll use this match to kind of show that. But you're probably not wrong.
It's like,
yeah,
they showed up, kicked ass. Like we were in my living room when that happened.
They were like world tag team title contenders at that point.
Who the fuck are those guys?
Yeah, and hopefully they'll get back to that at some point. That would be great. But you're not wrong. Right now they are kind of viewed as the joke team, which granted they're not.
Like, why though? Because they had such a huge ass impact when they showed up.
And with Brody Lee as their leader. But once Brody passed away, unfortunately, that kind of changed. But yeah, they need to get back to Evil Uno. John Silver's a great wrestler. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So Johnny Hungy is a bowling ball of a brick shithouse. You know, he's a big dude.
So is Evil Uno.
Yeah.
And you have Colt Cabana.
Yeah, and I mean, Alan Angels and those other guys, Ted, they're all good little wrestlers. So this will be a great 5-on-5, assuming things don't get completely chaotic.
They're going to get destroyed.
Yeah,
they're going to get squashed. And it's like, I don't understand that logic behind it either, because it's like individually and as a team, the Dark Order is a solid ass thing. And like, and for a while too, they were the top heel kind of faction. And it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just weird that this is the spot they're in now.
Yeah, I can understand it. I mean, I'd like to say, like we said, there's a lot of ways you could take this match. They could do that where they make them look weak, and like I said, Paige is, you know, maybe down three-man advantage or something, disadvantage or whatever you want to call it. Or they could do the thing like maybe where they do give the Dark Order a little bit of a shine here, a little of a rub or whatever they call it, and maybe they get some pinfalls.
You have to pin your tag champions.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
That fucking happen.
Well, that's what I said.
You have to pin your heavyweight champion.
Yeah, when you mentioned that about pinning, if Hangman is going to earn his opportunity, the Bucks are going to have to lose, which I'm not as upset about, which I don't. But it's still a champion, which we've talked about how we don't like beating champions. I don't personally, anyway. And then that means Kenny has to lose. That's my bigger problem. I guess you could book it in certain way, but if it's an elimination, what kind of rule? It depends on the rules.
You can't have that whole Kenny gets counted out thing, or somebody gets, you know, kicked out by a DQ. That's just trash.
Now you could do technically during this promo that Kenny was basically challenging him for. He never exactly said which 5. They could pull this swerve thing where Kenny's not actually in the match. Because it could be.
But Kenny did say me.
Did he say me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the case. Never mind.
I'm going to have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah,
I'm 100% sure.
If he didn't say that, you could always do the Bucks, the Good Brothers, and then like Cutler or Nakazawa. But chances are Kenny's in this match. And if he is, you're right. He's going to have to take a loss.
Because you want that moment where it's Kenny and Adam in that ring together.
Now, to our argument about PD champions, though, Bobby Lashley on Monday Night Raw got beat by Xavier Woods for absolutely no reason other than the fact to make him look vulnerable, which he got beat by Kofi. But there's really no sense in the way they did it. I'm not saying I'm going to agree with the fact if Kenny takes the loss, but it is something that AEW doesn't normally do. So
that's also the thing too. You don't want to see Adam get the 1, 2, 3 over a million.
Exactly.
Yeah. Either.
And he would have to be the one to probably pin him.
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I understand. It's got some concerns. We're just going to have to wait and see what they do here. But yeah, you're not wrong.
We're going to get that big spot fest convoluted.
You might.
You'll get either a roll-up or hit the buckshot Larry.
Oh, I hope it ain't a roll-up.
For the win.
I'm done with roll-ups. Thanks, WWE.
It better not be a roll-up. right now.
Yeah, but it's just one of those deals like with roll-ups and the distractions have gotten better on this show at least. But yeah, they've kind of gotten out of control with AEW. Even Dave Meltzer mentioned that on one of his shows. But if they do pin Kenny, I'm not going to like it. But it's going to be one of those deals where, again, they don't do it as much as WWE does. So I would.
But just because you don't do it as much still doesn't mean
you should. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they take this. But they might have kind of booked them into a no-win scenario here. So I share your concerns.
You can't
absolutely
beat Adam Page because then all this is for naught.
No, you can't. Yeah, because then he said you can't, or he's basically done, or he couldn't challenge him, or
Yeah, you couldn't challenge
something
him.
to that effect. Yeah, so he's winning somehow by hook or crook. So yeah, this is going to be intriguing, but hopefully this isn't going to be a dumpster fire at the end of this
Because
thing.
here's the thing: if it wouldn't have been an elimination style,
Yeah, Kitty wouldn't have to lose.
Kenny wouldn't have to get pinned. The
Right.
Bucks wouldn't have to get pinned. You
Right.
could pin one of the Good Brothers.
Or Cutler,
Nakazawa
yeah, or some
Cutler.
of the geeks, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But you're
But
right.
The fact that it's this, it's like...
That's why when I first texted you, I was like, okay, well, Eggman's going to earn his opportunity. It's going to be a good moment. It's going to be a great pop, and it'll set up their world title match.
was like,
but then
yeah,
you said it, I was like, oh yeah, one of them's got. They all three have got to lose if that's the case, and that's no bueno.
And like I said, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, big butts. Yeah, it's going to, like I said, it's definitely got me intrigued to see how they book this.
Yeah.
You're probably right. It's probably going to just end up, they're going to be taking losses, and that's,
big
while I understand it, you could have done it a different way.
It's going to be one of these big smodges, and like I said before, I get it sometimes, but you guys do it a lot, and it's just like, all right, man. Like,
at least for one night tonight, you didn't have to worry about that, so that's improvement, I suppose.
No,
Maybe
they didn't do it with Jungle Boy. I like the way they did it with Jungle Boy. I'll put it that way.
Oh, okay, yeah, his world title match, yeah.
I was cool with that because it was like out of the way early. We moved on, and it didn't happen.
I even didn't mind it a whole lot when Kitty defended against Pac and Orange Cassidy. It was minimal. It was there, but it was minimal. It wasn't like the locker rooms cleared out and chaos erupted, like a lot of Young Bucks matches. But yeah,
I hated the way the Pinnacle that whole match between
MJF
Jericho. That shit made me mad because it was like
MJF
that
and
was a
Jungle Boy.
5-star. You could have done.
Was it Jungle Boy?
No.
MJF and Sammy. Yeah.
I was like, you could have done that 1,000 different ways without doing this way.
Yeah, and I get MJF's a heel, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. They just need to tone that back, and I'm glad at least, like I'm almost saying it again, they did tonight. So I'm glad to see that. So hopefully that's kind of a start of a trend more than it is an aberration for one night for sure. So let's move on a little bit here. After this, we had Chris Jericho was interviewed about MJF's stipulations to earn another match. Jericho said that if MJF read all the Greek mythology, he'd know that when Hercules succeeded, he got everything he wanted. Jericho will walk through fire or run across broken glass to get to MJF. Jericho's the god of thunder and war in AEW. I guess this is kind of his new gimmick he's pushing a little bit here. I don't know if it's working because Shawn Spears attacked Jericho with a chair from behind, and Jericho said MJF said that Spears was Jericho's first labor. The stipulation is that Spears can use a chair, but Jericho cannot. Spears hit Jericho with the chair again as MJF walked off.
So he didn't know. That's not what happened. Jericho held his elbow down, and then Shawn Spears hit him with the chair in the elbow.
Yeah.
Or MJF held
it didn't say how it happened, but yeah, MJF held his arm, yes. So he's going to have a hurt arm, most likely, going into this match next week, I believe.
Jericho is smart, and we all know he is. He can't use a chair.
Right.
But they didn't say shit about any of somebody else using a chair.
Like some of the other Inner Circle. Back to your point of, I mean, if it's... I would assume that kind of means there's no rules except for that rule. I mean, the chair's allowed. If they, again, it's kind of one of those things where if you tell us there's no rules, I'm not going to bitch about it as badly. Yeah. But to your point, we don't need to do that again.
I'm assuming that he can use chair.
Yeah, that everybody else can get involved. Here. Right. Well, we'll have to wait and see. It may be a standard singles match, but Spears could use a chair too. If that's the case, there's rules.
Then they are, yeah.
But then if they do the shenanigans, it's like, all right, now you're going to bother me with it more.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
So, that's still. I don't know how you would do that then.
Depends on what you're
I don't know how you would get around it. Because if it's a standard match, that means Jericho can get DQ'd, correct?
Yes.
So that means he would lose.
And I guess Spears could too, unless he uses a chair. But most likely, you're right. It's probably going to be no rules. But
yeah, I would assume it has to be no rules in order for this to work. But the only rule being Jericho can't use the chair.
Yeah.
So he can hit him with something else other than a chair.
Maybe.
Or like I said, have somebody else hit him with the chair.
They need to clarify if there's other rules involved or if it's just that rule and it's a normal singles match after that.
Yeah. If so, that's just weird then.
Yeah, and then if like the Pinnacle or the Inner Circle all get involved too, then again,
and it's like
let's hope not.
Let's
keep stuff one-on-one for a while, at least for a while, because it's like you've overdone it too much.
Especially with this whole thing, watching Jericho do this alone without the Inner Circle, is a good thing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
And he should want to do that as a prideful babyface too. Like, let me earn this.
I think Jericho's clever enough, character-wise, to find ways to win. Without
as an in-ring performer, I think he's smart enough to realize, okay, we don't need to do all this. I hope.
Yeah,
he's been around long enough to where he's smart enough not to have to keep doing this. So, and he don't need the help. I mean, his name alone stands as long as he can still go in the ring. I know he's getting older, and that's probably a lot of reasons some of these guys getting some of that help is to kind of cover up the fact that they're. I mean, Jericho's 50 years old now. I think he turned 50.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I get it, but at the same time,
jumping off a skyscraper either. So
no, yeah, I mean, all he has to do here is sell a little bit for Spears, maybe get a quick win at the end, sneak away with this, and it'll be just as effective, I think. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. After this, we had Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy. The story here was that Christian had never beaten Hardy one-on-one and is undefeated in AEW. I didn't quite know that Christian had never beat Matt Hardy one-on-one.
I didn't either.
So that's interesting. A little bit of a wrinkle there.
Yeah. Which, I mean, this was
a solid old school Monday Night Raw match, not new school, because Monday Night Raw nowadays is garbage. But this was a good WWE style match between these two guys, and I thought they did a good job telling a story. But
two old men.
Yeah,
don't expect much.
Right. Let's see here. Hardy perched Christian on top rope and peppered him with right hands followed by a suplex. Hardy was too slow to cover and only got 2. Again, old man. Christian cradled Hardy for 2 and went for the kill switch, but Hardy grabbed the referee and hit a low blow. Hardy followed it up with a twist of face for a close near fall. They rolled to the outside on the floor where Hardy locked on the leech, his new submission finisher. Hardy rolled back into the ring as the referee counted. And this was interesting because Christian was laid on the outside of the ring, but as Hardy rolled back in and got the referee distracted, Christian ran back into the ring real quick and countered the twist of fate to hit the kill switch like he didn't even get put in the submission hold at all. He just ran in and boom, the match was over. So I thought that was interesting.
I have something to say about another match that took place later on.
Okay.
And the way the person sold in that match, and it was like, okay.
I mean, there was a couple things in this where, the superplex I thought looked like it sucked. Christian did a springboard over the top turnbuckle to the outside, which was interesting as well. These two guys worked really hard. I thought it came off pretty well. I'm not a big fan of the story. Don't get me wrong. I love these two guys. I respect them. They're both legends in this business in my eyes. But I've kind of seen these guys go at it for 20 years. It's kind of like
we're not going to get
ladder
match.
Nor should we. Let's hope not. These guys don't need to be doing that now, especially Matt Hardy, who smacked his head off concrete months ago. That does not need to happen. But after the match, I thought it was interesting. That could be setting up a possible 6-man. Hardy family offices with Private Party and the Hybrid 2 surrounded the ring, but Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus ran out to make the save. No Marco Stunt, interestingly enough. So you could set up even a 4-on-4. But it sounds like it's going to be Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian against Private Party and Matt Hardy, most likely.
Most likely.
But we'll have to wait and see. But that could be some fun. I still want to see. Obviously, Jungle Boy is still getting his push a little bit here and there. Obviously, he's going to be just fine. I still kind of want to see him do more with Luchasaurus.
I was just about to say that. I would like to see more with Luchasaurus.
Maybe even a heel turn and break away
from the stuff
from
that we have seen from him.
Yeah.
He can wrestle. He can go.
Absolutely.
He's a big dude. He's very agile. He's fast. I just want to see him in the ring. Him do more. Him get more opportunities. And unfortunately, right now, because of this whole push with Jungle Boy, Jurassic Express as a tag team has kind of went nowhere.
Well, not only that, since no Marco. Now, here's the problem with breaking Luchasaurus away from the Jurassic Express. Marco Stunt will be absolutely killed. There'd be nothing for him to do unless he aligns himself with some other group, like maybe the Dark Order or something like that. Well, it would kind of fit right now. But
you don't want the Dark Order to be
right.
The oddities.
It would be kind of like that. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, Uno's kind of got that. The guy who wore the carpet shirt on him a little bit. You're not wrong. Yeah. I would like maybe see eventually Luchasaurus break away from Jungle Boy. And Jungle Boy would be just fine on his own. There's no doubt about that.
So, yes.
But I'd like to see a villainous carnivore heel turd. See what I did there?
Oh,
for for the Luchasaurus here, the dinosaur. I mean, he could always ditch the mask, say this is. I mean, but I think the mask is kind of his thing. You can make it work as a heel too, but maybe one day. But I don't think it's coming up anytime soon. That's just my wishful thinking, I think. After this, we got Miro, which this was actually a great pre-tape promo, telling a story about himself. After months of insecurity, a voice called out to Miro to return to who he was. Before he said this, though, he said he was at a point in his life basically where nothing was going right except his wife was able to do the splits. I thought that was amazing. Every time he touts Lana, I think it's absolutely hysterical, and she's coming to AEW. I have no doubt the way he keeps mentioning her. Miro destroyed everyone in his path, making him God's favorite champion. The TNT Championship was his reward. Miro's not just willing to defend his championship with his life, he's willing to defend it with yours. He is, quote, the Redeemer. His title has now been redesigned, and it now has a white strap with green accents. So I thought this made the TNT title look pretty good. I mean, I didn't think it looked bad before, but I kind of like the white strap here. I thought it looked good. Any thoughts on the new design?
No, I like it.
Yeah, good.
I like I always like when it's not a conventional thing.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's why I like the NXT title so much.
Which is why I think they went red with it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And for what, I can't remember why they went to the black. Oh, did they give the red one to Brody Lee's son?
I think so.
I think that's what they did. So maybe that's what it was. And they went black. I like the black on most belts, no doubt. But I think in this case, I think the white, it's kind of like the old classic Intercontinental title a little
It's
bit.
like in WWE, you get the Cruiserweight title. I love the way that title looks. The purple with the silver.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? I love the way that title looks.
Yeah.
I love the NXT title. It's just a big ass fucking faceplate, and then I love the way it looks.
Yeah.
The spinner belt. I know a lot of people didn't like it.
I didn't care. I didn't mind it too bad, I should say. You know.
I liked it for its innovativeness. You know what I'm saying?
It got old after a long time.
Yeah.
But when Cena had it, well, the U.S. title he had first and spun, and then he had the WWE title it spun. I didn't mind it when Cena had it for a while, but then after Cena didn't have it for a long time, other people like
kept it around.
Punk had it. It was like, all right, now it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they eventually changed it, but it took them forever. It looked like a toy at that point.
Stone Cold's belt that he had for the long time.
It worked for him.
The Skulls. I fucking loved it.
Or The Rock had the Brahma Bull belt for a while.
Triple H had the Iron Crosses on his, and that said Triple H on them. I love that one.
Now let's not talk about Jeff Hardy's Impact title. That thing, or TNA title, whatever it was at the time. That thing was something to see. Or the Fiend's belt. Thank God they got rid of that.
But I used to love the personalization they did with some of these titles. You know what I mean? So for this one, I mean, I like when they kind of, it has a mix of tradition, but also a little something new. You know, a little color to it, and I enjoyed it. So like I like it. I like it though.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm not a big fan of the white straps when it comes to the WWE main roster women's belts. Personally, now the women's tag I got no problem with, but the women's main singles belts I don't care for.
And I will say I like I don't know if it's still on there, but you know, remember the tag titles used to have like the gladiator head designs on them.
It might still be on there, but they look like
I like those.
Copper and silver, which looks a little odd to me. I just prefer the old like Money Incorporated. You know, back Legion of Doom back in the day, though, that old tag team title design.
Yeah.
But that's what I would prefer them to use.
I loved it when they used to do the personalized side plates. I know they don't do them like they used to do them. Like you might get one side.
They do for like the world champion, I think.
Yeah,
the WWE champion.
But I still love the personalized side plates on some of them.
Yeah, maybe universal title. But yeah, for me, the women's championships, I don't mind so much that they're white. It's they just look too much like the men's world title.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, we got enough of these big WWE logo belts. We don't necessarily need 4 of them. But that's just me. I digress.
I like the NXT women's belt.
Yeah, the NXT belts are just perfectly fine. I got no problem with those. But yeah, so, hey, a little bit of our belt wrestling preferences for sure. No, we got a little sidetrack, but that's all good. But yeah, I like the design of the new TNT belt for sure. So it gives a little bit of a pop. After this, we had what I thought was another good promo. Dr. Britt Baker was brought out by Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone didn't get get kicked out of the ring this time again. Good. He said everyone was concerned about Baker's well-being. Baker said, "Don't worry about it. She's dealt with a lot and came out the baddest bitch on the block. What's daunting is trying to keep Nyla Rose relevant. Rose has beaten Baker, but Baker's in a league of her own. Rose and Vicky Guerrero were shown backstage. Baker said that Vicky has a last name that will keep her relevant in wrestling, but Nyla Rose does not. With the championship, Baker's the hottest promo in pro wrestling, but even without it, she's still DMD." I thought this was a good promo on her part. Live in front of the crowd. She didn't stutter. She didn't, forget her lines or whatever it was. She probably made this up off the top of her head. So it's one thing AEW doesn't really do is script their promos. So did you have a thought on this promo?
No, I liked it. It was good.
So yeah, I thought this was good. Backstage though, Rose said next week she'd hand Baker the ass whooping of her life. Vicky Guerrero also tried to cut a promo here, but she was screaming so loudly for whatever reason I couldn't make out half of what she said. Was it just me? I can't hardly hear you, buddy. You still there?
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. No, she's a screamer. I have my mic way over here.
She's a screamer.
I lean back in the chair.
Yeah, he's just like,
And that's always been a thing with Vicky that I just didn't get.
Uh-huh.
Why are you yelling?
Now she does the
at
screaming
this
thing
point now, it's
well.
like a whole part of her whole gimmick or whatever. But
Yeah.
so
It just would have been more impactful if I could understand what she said, especially the second half of the promo. She was just screaming. I was like, "What are you saying?" But yeah, I mean, she did her part, I suppose. I didn't think Nyla Rose's promo was that good. It was very quick, probably for reasons. Yeah, but so yeah, I mean, I'm to be honest, I'm not feeling this feud. I do like Britt Baker. I think that she's the hottest woman they have right now, which is why she's the champion. Hot in more ways than one. Sorry, Adam Cole.
Is it me or is this just going on until
next week?
Rosa?
Possibly. Thunder Rosa was on Dark this week, so I don't know if getting back to crowds or whatever has got her able to come back. But yeah, obviously the Nyla Rose Britt Baker matches next week. So I think hopefully that'll be it at that point, and we'll move on from Nyla Rose. Yeah, I hope so too. I think Ty Conti was the next ranked contender. But yeah, I would assume Thunder Rosa would be in that mix at some point, which will be great because Thunder Rosa is awesome and Britt Baker is as well. So we'll see where they go. John Moxley was backstage. One does not beat Lance Archer, he said. One simply survives Lance Archer. Moxley isn't the hunted, he is the hunter, which is interesting for a champion to say. Archer wants Texas Death Part 2. Next week, Archer won't just be Texas born and Texas bred, he'll be Texas dead. So short, sweet, to the point. Not a bad promo, but it wasn't anything major to write home about.
No.
But the match could be very good, so it's just him answering Lance Archer's challenge here. So we'll see where they go. Next up, I thought we had a fun little match. Sammy Guevara versus a guy I've never heard of, Wheeler Yuta. Apparently he's a disciple of Orange Cassidy, and I think they said Chucky? Or Chuck, I believe.
Yes.
They were outside being basically his coach. Yuta come out to the Best Friends music. Blade and the Bunny were shown looking on in the audience. Yuta fought back with a hammer throw with a step-up drop kick. Guevara hit a forearm smash, but Yuta came back with the German suplex. Yuta followed it up with a diving splash, but Guevara kicked out at one. They exchanged strikes until Sammy Guevara hit a quarter spear, a move I can't pronounce. Gagan Guri? Is that what Gaman Guri?
You asking the wrong person.
Yeah, sorry, you can't see what I'm reading. A double springboard cutter and the GTH followed from Guevara for the win in about 5 minutes. Not a very long match, but I thought the Yuta especially looked pretty impressive. He had a good show here. And Sammy Guevara looked ultra impressive. He was very smooth, very crisp at all of his moves, I thought he was hitting everything that he was going for. Wasn't really slipping on any of the ropes or anything like that. He had a nice double springboard cutter. I thought that was really cool. Did some good flips to kind of showboat a little bit to start the match. But yeah, a lot of fun. I thought it was pretty fun. I thought
it was a solid match.
I could have even stayed to watch another 5 minutes personally, but I get it. They had a packed show. They couldn't do all that. But and again, this is a good example where a young guy in Wheeler Yuta who took a loss, a straight clean loss, but he got over with the crowd. He showed off what he could do. They showed some clips of him on Dark and Elevation, how he was getting some wins. So good. Looks like the Best Friends stable may be expanding a little bit here with Trent out due to a neck injury. So good to see. I'm happy to see Wheeler Yuta on Dynamite for sure. So hopefully we'll see more of that kid. But good for Sammy's Guevara kind of bouncing back from the MJF loss, kind of keeping him relevant. So also good. QT Marshall and the Factory were interviewed by Tony Schiavone backstage. Marshall, however you want to pronounce it, was all angry about his loss and poured a protein shake on Schiavone's head like a big boy. This, to me, I didn't care a whole lot for it.
I didn't either.
To me, I don't understand why he had to lose to Cody to begin with. But not only that, the feud wasn't anything that was really my cup of tea.
No.
You could argue the go-go stuff clearly. But QT Marshall, this just kind of felt lame.
It was.
Yeah, so I don't know. Part of it is just kind of like, I mean, QT Marshall or Marshall is a good promo usually. I don't know why they didn't just let him, let loose. But for whatever reason, they had him playing the bully to Schiavone. They're probably in between feuds here, trying to figure out what to do with Marshall, and we'll see where they go with him for sure. But I'm not too interested at the moment.
Nope.
But he's a good wrestler, so whatever they do, I'm sure that'll be good, that part anyway. Yuka Sakazaki versus Penelope Ford. Loud Yuka chants at the start of this match, since it's her first match in 16 months.
About.
Okay, go on.
So, Penelope Ford, I know she used to be with Kip, right?
Yeah,
Sabian?
yeah, and he got destroyed by Miro, and we've really not seen him since.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
Her selling was off.
Yeah, this was probably the worst match of the night, no doubt.
Yeah. But it was like Yuka, it looked like she had to slow down what she would normally do to accommodate. And it made the match, it drug it out, for one.
Okay.
But it made it like weird, if that makes sense. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You can see where somebody has experience and then the lack of experience. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Girl tried. And she did do a couple good
and I think Penelope has improved, but it's just
her
slowly.
selling was something to be desired.
Okay. Fair enough. They were having a forearm strike exchange upon return from a break. Sakazaki powered Ford up for a nice vertical suplex. She hit a rolling kick and a sliding D for 2, then a diving back elbow for 2 more. Ford fought out of a suplex and hit 2 pump kicks for 2. Sakazaki came back with the magical merry-go-round. That's an interesting name for a move.
Yeah.
Followed by the magical girl splash, which she almost botched. That rope was wobbling like crazy, but she did hit it for the win here. So
there was another botched. There was a botched move, too, in that Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. But I will say the way he saved it, it kind of made sense, and I liked the way he did it. It was when he was trying to catch him, and he was supposed to pick him up before the Gorilla Press Slam. Okay. And he was supposed to hip toss him. But what happened was, timing was off, and like the hip toss, he turned into him looking like he dropped Stark on his knee, on his neck. And you remember the whole, he had just came back from the neck thing. So I was like, that was smart. That was a good way to save it.
Right.
The botch in this match, I was like, there's really no way for you to save that, but I'm glad you moved forward.
Right. Yeah, I'll have to go back and see what that botch was. I must have missed it.
Yeah, it's when Ricky was running.
Well, not that one. The one in the girls' match.
Oh, no. Yeah. In this match, it was kind of the same instinct. I think she was running to her, and I don't know if she was supposed to like do the thing where you dive feet first and then you go for a different move or whatever. It was just they got caught up in the moment. No, it was when she was first doing the underhook thing.
Oh, okay.
They got tangled up. I can't, what I'm talking. The hammerlock with the spin, which I think is a dope move, by the way. But the first time they were going to do it, it's like they just got tangled up in each other, and then they just like do something else, and then they went back to it a moment later. But yeah.
Cool.
It's just like Penelope's selling to me. It was like she would sell at times, and then at times she didn't.
Mm-hmm. The consistency.
Needs
to be
and
there.
it was just like she was just. If we were talking through a match and then walking through how we were going to do it, that's how the pace felt for me watching. Right. You get what I'm saying?
Right, I hear you.
So, like I said, it wasn't like necessarily like it was just one of the things that it slowed down a lot.
All right, I can understand that. I mean, yeah, like I said, to me, it was probably the worst match on the show. It was good to see Sakazaki back for sure.
Yeah, it was. It was good to see
and hopefully we'll get her back.
You can tell she's used to wrestling at a certain pace.
Yeah. Well, they even said it was her first Dynamite match in 16 months, most likely due to the pandemic because.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so so she hasn't been allowed to come to the U.S. So it's just good to see her back. Hopefully, we'll get some of these other girls from Japan and things coming back over here soon too. So we'll get a little bit deeper of a division. Even though I think their women's division, while a lot of them still need improvement, I think it still is a relatively decent depth. I wouldn't say it's like the best depth in the world.
They have,
but...
yeah, you're 100% right. They have kind of the depth. Jesus.
The depth.
They have the depth, but not necessarily. I'm not saying. Okay, look, I'm not saying all talent is shit, because like it takes a certain amount of talent to even get in the ring.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know what it is, whether it's lack of confidence in yourself, or once the lights turn on, the camera's on, you backstage you do everything right, rehearsal you do everything right, but then the camera's on, and then it's like the whole deer in the headlights thing. I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, botches happen at every company, but yeah.
For sure.
I mean, sometimes I think a lot of performers just put a little maybe too much pressure on themselves, wanting to get everything just right. Because if they don't, in today's world, especially social media, you're going to get brutalized. You're going to get.
Then you move too fast and shit.
Yeah.
Time's up. Like I get like slowing down, and I get getting into a rhythm. That's where you should be. A flow. Wrestling is like it's a rhythm. It's a flow. It's not ballet, but it is fucking dancing.
Yeah, in a way, it is. Yeah, absolutely. But hopefully these girls will continue to improve. I think personally, NXT has the best women's depth at the roster when it comes to pure talent. But for whatever reason, they go to the main roster, and it seems like all their talent just goes out the window when it comes to. But that's a whole other issue. But when it comes
that's
to
a separate issue, like,
that's a big issue.
That's not a person can't maintain what they could do. Somewhere else under the same umbrella, we can't do.
It's like once you go to the main roster or something, they're just like, all right, no longer do this, don't do that, read this script, do that, and you ain't allowed to wrestle that way. So they strip them down to basically nothing, and that's where we get issues. But when it comes to NXT themselves, though, when they're there, I think that's where most of the women shine at WWE, and that's the best place for them to be. And hopefully, that'll translate to the other brands at some point, but AEW I think is coming up a close second when it comes to overall depth of women's division for sure. We got the lineup for next week for Fyter Fest Night 2. AEW Women's Championship, Dr. Britt Baker defends against Nyla Rose. IWGP United States Championship match, Jon Moxley will defend against Lance Archer in a Texas death match. Chris Jericho versus Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears can use a chair, but Jericho cannot. And Orange Cassidy versus The Blade again in a singles match. Okay.
Listen to me.
Yeah. Orange better win this one, and hopefully that's the blow off. I think that's probably the way to go here. Yeah, I think that's where it needs to. Because last time, remember, they got the win because Chris Statlander came in there and saved Orange after he got punched with the brass knucks.
This case, ended it there.
I think this case, Orange gets the clean victory over the Blade, and it's over. I think it's a match to kind of fill some time, to be honest. The crowd will get to see Orange, and that'll be that. But yeah, so not a bad card. The other three matches are good, and we'll see how they fill the card up with some other stuff and segments as well. So we'll see what they do. A video package advertising AEW Rampage debut that should be around about a month away from now on Friday nights. So we'll see how that goes too. The Coffin got an entrance, which was interesting. Looked like AEW versions of the Druids walked it out to the ring, which was, yeah.
It's like the security.
Yeah.
Stamp.
Yeah, exactly. So that led up to the Coffin match with Darby Allin versus Ethan Page.
Got it.
Yeah, you got it. Eventually got there. The rules are that the Coffin must close around a competitor for the match to end. The Coffin. What did the Coffin say?
So it wasn't a different. Okay, listen. I thought, maybe it's just me. Okay, I expect. We've seen Coffin matches before.
Oh yeah, multiple times. He's got to collect his thoughts on this one.
Maybe it's me. I'm wrong for having the expectations that I had. Okay. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I get the concept of a Coffin match, but the way, I guess I overhyped myself for it, because in my head, I'm like, this has to be something different than a normal Coffin match, because the way you're making it seem like this is the first ever Coffin match here. And I'm like,
well, in AEW it is, but Yeah.
But I'm in my head, it's like, well, this is gonna be drastically different from your normal coffin matches. Like it has to be, right?
I'll give you one difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You
But
do?
What, the end?
No. The one of the big differences I thought during the match that they did not do that a lot of WWE coffin matches have is they do that constant teaser where you get the guy in the coffin and they go to close the lid, the guy grabs it and it stays open.
It's that whole, but that's
they didn't do that.
That's the whole buildup of like
a little, but it's also like we know he's going to grab it. They had a guy go in there maybe once or twice and that was it until the finish.
It's the same thing with the ladder. It's the same thing in a cage match. You know, it's you know it's cheesy and you know it's stupid, but you still want to see it.
Yeah. I just appreciated that little detail where they didn't go to that cheesy length of the hand, caught it right for the last second.
Yeah,
they didn't do that.
The whole cheesy, his partner's in the fucking casket.
Yeah, well, that was again to our point from earlier about how not getting everybody involved.
Yeah, I was about to say that though.
So that was good in my opinion. How Scorpio Sky kind of got involved a little bit, but again, no rules, so this one made a little more sense to me. But then when that happened, Sting come out to make the save, and they basically brawled in the audience a little bit, and they ended up, I think, pretty well disappearing.
Yeah, they disappeared after that.
Kind of like the first match on the show with Eddie Kingston and Doc Gallows. So again, this became one-on-one.
Yeah.
Other than that was it.
Should have been.
Agreed, and that was perfect.
I hate the reason for this match.
Yeah, it's kind of, she's like, okay, because he does the coffin drop, so let's do a coffin match. It's a little cliche, I suppose, but I didn't really. It wasn't real good, but at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, it's a way to get to the coffin match, but yeah.
Y'all could have had a regular match and just had a coffin in it.
Yeah, that's true. That notwithstanding, though, I thought the match was decent. It wasn't the best Dynamite main event I've ever seen, but it was definitely. As coffin matches go, I mean, they had a point where they took off the bottom rope. It was no longer on the ring. They had
They really didn't do nothing with that either. Yeah,
not really.
He hit it and he got busted open, but it was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they had a spot where Ethan Page hit the Ego's edge onto the steel steps. That looked like it sucked.
So Miranda and Deb seen it, and Deb goes, "Oh," and Miranda goes. And she had a valid question. Why would you do that to yourself?
Good point.
Like you have to think about your future.
I know. And in my head, I keep thinking Mick Foley. I keep thinking, Jeff Hardy. He's still wrestling, but his body ain't there as it used to be.
You have to think about all the guys.
Yeah.
Who did this without knee pads? Back in the day, who went up and down the road. They beat the crap out of themselves, right? Half of them can't walk now. They're in a wheelchair.
And they weren't doing half the stuff that Darby's doing.
No, and Darby's
That's the scary thing.
20.
He's still young, but all these back spots he's doing. I mean, on the steps he does one after the match. We'll get into it in a second, which was unnecessary, but it was a cool spot. But it was just,
Again, and I told you before, that's my problem a lot of times. I get it's a cool spot.
It's a way to send the crowd home happy. I get it.
It's unnecessary.
Right. Yeah.
Are you going to be happy 6 months from now if he has to retire because he screwed himself up?
Well, it reminded me.
Think about Shibata. I love watching him wrestle. But the fact that he headbutted everybody caused them to have a brain aneurysm to where they were like, you can't do this anymore because you will die.
Well, let's go ahead and get into that. Basically, the match ended when Darby Allin jumped off the top rope and cracked Ethan Page on the head with the skateboard, and the skateboard assistant stomp sent Ethan Page into the coffin, and Darby Allin closed the coffin to win the match.
In that too.
Yeah, but what I wanted to get into was the fact that after the match, Allin hit the coffin drop through the top of the coffin onto Ethan Page on the inside. It was a great looking spot. The reason why I think they did do it is because throughout the entire match, he did not hit the coffin drop on Ethan Page. So at least this was a way to give the crowd that spot of him hitting the coffin drop. But again, to your point, it's after the match is over. Outside of just destroying your body and getting a pop, there's no sense in doing it, really. The match was over.
If the way this match ended was Ethan was in the coffin, but he couldn't close it. Say he wouldn't let him close it, whatever. Then he did the coffin drop.
I don't know how you pulled that off.
The coffin, it's easy. Just
with the lid open. Maybe he did it before he closed it. Okay, but then you got to hit the thing with the lid open. I mean, you could do it. I mean, he hit that thing pretty square with the lid closed. So, yeah, I mean, that could have been better for sure. I mean, it would have sucked a lot more, especially for Ethan. Well, not only that, Ethan I thought was interesting because
Ethan moved to the side.
Well, it was interesting because the coffin was still there, and Allin moved the coffin into position. So what he did, it was like, in my head, it was like Ethan's signal, okay, get out of the way.
Yeah. Because he did. But like, if you look when he goes through and the camera's like right over, Ethan is tucked up against the wall.
I don't blame him. Because not only that, you got to worry about him crashing through this thing without any notice or warning. Yeah. You also got to worry about wood splinters.
Okay. Now you did this move when you didn't need to. You already won. But the dude you were intending to hit himself against the side of the wall.
And he's probably holding it going, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me.
So he took the brunt of it because, he can't see you at this point.
And he doesn't know you're coming.
The only thing he can do is cover his head to make sure you don't land on his head.
I was half expecting there to be a trap door. That thing was padded on the inside, but you can see earlier in the match it was not.
Padded, yeah.
No, it was all wood.
It had flowers in it.
Yeah, that was about it. Let's hope those things didn't have thorns.
It's unnecessary.
To me, it reminded me when Darby went through the Cracker Barrel was it about a year or so ago? Which also is like
no reason for that.
I mean, at least I think that was during the match, but at the same time,
there was no point. Jimmy Havoc and Jimmy moved, and he landed on the stairs with the Cracker Barrel.
Don't get me wrong; these spots that Darby do. Anyway, that sounded odd. These spots that Darby do. These spots that Darby does. Yeah. But when he does these things, don't get me wrong, I get that holy reaction. But at the same time, it's like I'm fearful for this guy's future, life. Yeah. All these back spots. My back hurts just getting out of the bed when I move wrong. I can't imagine what he's going to feel like in 20 years when he's in his 40s.
Let's just say 2-3 years from now. He has to now come out on national television and tell everybody, I can't do this anymore.
At a young age of not even 30, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, let's hope not. Because it's not like the guy.
All for the cheap pops. And it's like, I get it. You want to see that. But at the same time.
I mean, he is no doubt going to go down in the a long list of like hardcore style-esque legends of putting their bodies on the line. Back in the day, it's a little more rewarding. You don't necessarily have to do it as much nowadays, but it's also a throwback to that era. So I get the appeal of it, and I do enjoy watching him do these crazy stunts. I just fear for the guy. I really do.
It's sometimes, like I said, it's just sometimes it's too much.
Yeah, I understand it. I mean, yeah, for his life, it's too much. As a fan, I enjoy it. So I don't necessarily think from a bookie standpoint or anything it's bad or anything, but I just hope and pray that the guy is able to enjoy his life later in years. Otherwise, there's in the long run, it's not worth it. But for now, I guess not. And he's been doing this stuff for years. It's nothing new. I've seen him do some crazy stuff on the independents and stuff like that too. He's just got that mentality, and unfortunately, it may not be long for this business. But we'll see. But anyway, do you have any other thoughts on the show before we get out of here?
No, man. Other than what I said before, it was solid.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a pretty good Dynamite. It put me in a good mood after a long day at work. I was kind of, just not really having a bad day, but just kind of like, I needed something to pick me up a little bit. I thought this show did a good job with that.
Day.
No.
Wasn't the best day.
Oh, at work? Well, you can say that about a lot of days sometimes. It's work. It's nothing in particular. It's just we all don't want to go to work, that sort of thing. But yeah, so a good show, top to bottom. I thought, especially when it comes to lack of distractions and major interferences, big thumbs up from me, and the good booking and storytelling and setting up future feuds, in my opinion. But the real question here is, guys, what do you guys think about this week's AEW Dynamite? Please comment down below. Let us know what you thought of Fyter Fest Night 1, and are you excited for Fyter Fest Night 2 next week? Hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right, I swear to God that I can chop and roll. Yeah, I got shot and I ain't stopping, no.